What's up, everybody? It's Sanchez 405. It's on the warpath. If you're new, make sure you click the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notifications anytime there's new content posted. And as always, like, comment, share this video out because we're talking Washington football team news all the time. And today we have a very special interview with the Senior Vice President of Media Content for the Washington football team, none other than Julie Donaldson. Great interview, great guest, and y'all, after the intro, it's going to be Sanchez 405 and Julie Donaldson, the SVP. Check it out. Julie Donaldson, the Senior Vice President for Media for the Washington football team. And Julie, it is a pleasure to have you on here on the Warpath. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day.
Of course. Look, they call it off season, but I think very mistitled. There's really no days I find. I mean, we're talking about TAs, mini camp, training camp. I mean, this job's been a blessing, and it's been a lot, but we're having fun with it.
Yeah, and it seems like it's been a whirlwind. I think you've been going nonstop since July, I believe. And
yeah,
just talk about from, I guess, the beginning, when you got the call from Mr. Snyder and Mrs. Snyder into like today, just walk us through that real quick.
Oh, gosh. It came very quickly. And I was definitely taken aback. I was like, wait, what are you offering here? What's going on? Because it was a chaotic time. It was a very difficult, stressful time for the franchise. And it was a time of some necessary transitions on a lot of fronts, but they said, you know what? And I even asked them, I said, so why me? And they go, well, you know our team, you like our team, we hope you like our team, and we think that you'd be great for it. So, covered this franchise for over 10 years. And it just kind of all picked up from there. And the cool thing is they said, look, we want you to hire your crew, your people. We want you to be able to have control over which direction you go, the content, the way that you create it. And it's been a lot of fun. It really has, but there's a lot of shows we're doing, and now we're trying to sit back in the off season, evaluate what worked, what didn't work, why did it work, who wants more of what, where can we put it on the platforms that it's being consumed the most, and we produce a lot of content. So we're in the process of evaluating everything and how we can make it even better next season.
Yeah. And a lot of that content, one of your marquee things is the Washington Football Today, which comes on NBC Sports Washington every day at 5 p.m. We actually get it down here in the mountains, so you're getting into regions close to Tennessee and Kentucky as a regular cable station. I didn't know if you knew that or not, but it's the one thing that connects me back to home. So it's good to see you guys down here. And you talked about creating your broadcast team, and you're the first woman to be full-time on a radio broadcast, and you have got two of the dueling personalities that I have ever seen in Bram Weinstein and D'Angelo Hall. So I think they've got you like a Capitals hockey referee in between those guys, because you've got some strong personalities. But just talk about what it's been like to be in the booth, cover it, and even without fans, just talk about that experience and going through an 18-game schedule with the playoffs as well.
Yeah, I mean, we had to put the team together very quickly. Making my hires, I had to move fast, and then we didn't have much time to really prep. I mean, we were prepping off of games that they played against Detroit the year before, on TVs. Which little alone did we know that doing that on the televisions was really going to kind of set us up for not being able to travel and having to call the games from FedEx Field off the television. So we were a little prepared, I suppose, in that aspect, but it's incredibly challenging because you're telling a story off of a story that's being told to you. You don't get to see the entire field of play when you're trying to evaluate. And that really comes into play for, D'Angelo, not being able to see exactly what happened and why a play was broken down or why it worked. And for Bram, trying to figure out, what doubt, where is it on the field, what line are we at? So it was challenging, but the guys were cool. I think, we worked hard. We view each other as teammates. And, the biggest thing is it was so important for me to make sure that I got guys that were willing to work with me. We got to be real. Some folks might not care to work with the female, or they think that you only belong in certain spots. And I made sure that I brought in guys that said, okay, Julie, we're with you. We want to help you and build you up and support you. And we do this together. So I really enjoy the guys, and I'm looking forward to, now that we've had one season under our belt, kind of really growing together and even taking, a further step next year.
Yeah. And I'll take it even farther with everything opening up with COVID. What trip are you looking forward to finally get in a visiting radio booth? Which one? And I'm just going to stop you right there. You can't say Vegas, because I figure like that's everybody's trip.
I'm, in all honesty, I'm not a big Vegas girl. I'm not a big gambler or better or anything. And casinos I can take on short amounts. But I am excited to see their new stadium. I mean, look, who doesn't like a new shiny toy along those lines? I think the thing I'm going to really be looking forward to are those divisional games.
Okay.
What's it like being in Philly, in New York, in Dallas for those games? I'm really looking forward to that, because that's where the rivalry and the hate comes out, right? And that's where guys really step up. And especially since we won the division, and everybody says, well, we won it a little bit by default because the division stunk. Let's see this next year how we really stack up. Having taken those extra steps in the off season.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting to see, because, especially, and I kind of segue on this, you've been here, you've been in the market for over a decade, and one of the people that you have covered from start to finish, let's just address the ugliness in the room, that rotten cracked bell, as Ryan Kerrigan goes up to the hated Birds. Up there, goes up, and I think his Amtrak ticket, and they may have booed him coming off, and now they're celebrating him. But just talk about Ryan as a player here in Washington, covering him on the beat, and then now covering him internally. Just talk about what he's meant to this organization, this area.
I mean, when you think of Ryan, you think of just class, and he's been first class in everything he's ever approached. The way that, he's been in the community, and we were just talking, he had the Ryan Kerrigan Leukemia Golf Classic. And we're like, okay, who takes on that charge now? Because, he was big in making sure he gave back and having that impact on his community. And that's huge. Of course, on the field, you don't just be the franchise all-time sack leader without putting in the work. He barely ever missed a game, Mr. Consistency. And every player that I've asked about him, they say he's a man of few words, but he doesn't have to say a lot to be a leader in that locker room, to be a leader on the field. And so, and how rare is it that a player spends 10 years of his career, a decade, with the same team that drafted? So I think it's a big loss. Of course, I see how he first announced it that he's leaving, and then waited till the next day to say where he was going. Because if he came all out with it at once, we would have said, oh, Ryan, we don't like you. Instead, we got to give him our adoration for being here. And then a little bit of the hate came afterwards for joining Philadelphia. But you can't hate on the guy for wanting to extend his career, for wanting to keep playing. And if that's the opportunity that was best for him, you wish him the best, minus the 2 times a year we play him. So, right.
Yeah. And we'll get to see him. I call it the sandwich schedule, because you got Dallas, Philly, and we'll get to see him. Hopefully, this is the only holiday I ever hope we ruin for him, is right around that time, New Year's and everything. So, but yeah, he is. I think Teddy Roosevelt said that the best speak softly, carry a big stick, and I think Ryan did that as a player here, and. We talk about your broadcasting team, and you've got and if I'm wrong, stop me on this. I think you're going to be the one in charge of getting our preseason guys together, or folks together as well. Are you excited to get that preseason crew together, that we're going to actually have people there in person and everything that can cover the team and actually have preseason games?
It's funny. I didn't even realize at first that was my responsibility. As you've taken this job, like, nobody really told me everything that I was supposed to do. And then you get an email of Kenny Albert saying, hey, are you going to hire me? And Joe Theismann calls me up. He goes, are you going to use me again? And I'm like, how could you tell Joe Theismann no? I mean,
Right.
that would be the biggest mishap ever. Like, I'm not trying to get kicked out of town for making those decisions. But I'm looking forward to it. No preseason last year was a bit complicated with things. Although, gosh, if we're having to call it, I'm just thinking like that's a lot of names and a lot of information you really have to know. There's that tricky aspect to it, right? It'll be good, and there's only 3 preseason games this year since the schedule does shift. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I guess what was it like to just call a game in a hollow stadium for all but one game this year against the Giants? What was it like just to hear that? I guess they had the crowd noise pumping in there, but I guess there was something that had to be missing from there.
Yeah, there really was. I mean, because think about it, this team really came back in the second half. They had some outstanding plays. And if you could have had the fan base like bring them along, how that momentum would have even shifted further. This team gave fans something to cheer for. So it was unfortunate they weren't there in person to be able to do that. The weirdest thing is they play it loud, and it's loud. We're fortunate we have those headsets on to block it all out. But then, if there was an injury, they cut it all off, and it's weird because it's just like you can hear birds chirping. It's that quiet. You can hear the voices trickling up from the field. So that was really, really awkward when those situations happened. I will say this, I don't know what it's like to call a packed stadium. I've heard stories on what it would be like, but when you're in there and then the whistle blows, you get so tuned in to the action on the field. It didn't make that much of a difference to me. But I'm sure once the fans will be there, I'll be like, oh my God, please, let's never go back to an empty stadium again. Like that was just, and the creepiest thing was like away games. We're in the booth at FedEx Field for away games because that's where the setup was, calling up the TVs, and you got sprinklers going on the field. Like that was wacky,
Oh my gosh. Wow, that's insane. And I guess I'll wrap it up with this. We've got to hear what's the funniest interaction you've had with Coach so far, and working with him. I imagine there's got to be a few.
Well, unfortunately, this last year everything was virtual. Probably, the best. I mean, he's great. He gets it, but it was such a hard season last year. And then watching him go through this cancer diagnosis, and having to be at practice on like a golf cart, which now apparently he is all souped up and personalized.
He's a baller, man. I was like, what?
Yeah. That was kind of hard, but I'll say the first interview we did in person, it was just, it was cool. And being able to be like, wow, like it changes the dynamic because you get to, feed off the body language and interact and have, you can read each other a little bit differently and understand. And it was just so nice to be in person. And I'm looking forward to more of that as well. So, but, I think the one thing is I think he might've been surprised. We were joking on draft night. And just having a good time going through the picks that he made, and it got to Cameron Cheeseman, and I said, "Hey, Coach, there's a ton of jokes going out there." He goes, and he made one as well. He's like, "Yeah, I've seen a few of them." I said, "But here's the thing: everybody goes, you can't come because you can't be the guy that cuts the cheese."
Can't cut the cheese, man. That's
yeah. We had some fun with that, but he's a really amazing man to watch the way he leads, and we're fortunate to be on his team.
And I'll say this as well. I know you probably heard this before, but what y'all are doing down there, never in my lifetime have I been more proud to see what's going on in Washington. And a lot of fans that I talk to down where I'm at say the same thing. So what y'all are doing from the football aspect and what you're doing on your side, very fan centric, and we appreciate it. And you've got fans here all over the area. So thank you so much for what y'all are doing. We really do appreciate that.
Awesome. I mean, that's what the game is played for, is the fans. It's the content, why we created it's for the fans. So I'm always trying to listen to the feedback and
Mhm.
cater it more and give it to you on all platforms that you want
Yeah.
and give you as much access as we can give you, because this game does not exist. My job does not exist if it's not for you guys. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I want to try and make you guys as happy as we can and take you along on this amazing ride.
Yeah.
So
And we feel it every day. And one last thing, I lied. Make sure this is how you know Julie's a leader, y'all, because she keeps her enemies close to her. And why I say that is she thinks she went to the best university in Florida, so she put Santana on there during training camp. So you got the Gator and you got the Hurricane, and then the SEC rivalry. You got to keep Smoot under control as well. So look, that's alpha right there. That's alpha leadership. So
you got me pegged a little bit. You
see
might be
there?
onto something with that. What would be hard is if I had to work with somebody from Tennessee, because we just don't mix very well, or somebody from Alabama. Those Alabama guys, they always get me too. But
Oh,
yeah, we have fun with it.
don't tell John and Duran and Landon that, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
we do. We go with it. I'm like well, what we had a few more. I've got Bostic with me a little bit, so we need to bring some more Gators around to us for sure. I kept telling Coach Kyle Pitts.
you're trying to
He's
get
like,
the trade the farm, trade the farm.
yeah, he's like, we can't do that. I said, okay, fine.
Hey, but Julie, I appreciate it. Also, shout out to your wonderful assistant, Ebony, who helped us coordinate this together.
It's
So
great.
thank you so much for your time. And y'all, as we say here on the Warpath, love, peace, and hail. And we'll be talking to you real soon. We're out.
Thanks, Corey.